This is the Young and Growing Podcast.
But it drove me crazy that she loved God and listened to his advice more than me. And how much of an asshole am I for thinking that?
No, I don't know.
Mom, listen to me, not God.
Not God.
And again,
it's such a serious issue, and people need to know how okay it is to seek out for help.
What's wrong? Why isn't this career working for me? I know this is what I want to do, but why don't I want to do it this morning? Why don't I want to do it the next morning?
With Isaiah Gunther.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Young and Growing. I'm your host, Isaiah Gunther. And today we got a really special guest with us today. I wouldn't put emphasis on really.
Or guest.
Or guest.
You're a guest in my house.
I'm a guest in his house. Chris is our producer. He's on the radio every morning. He runs the entire radio building here.
The entire radio.
The entire radio in general. He's gonna be the one making all the magic happen. So yeah, we're gonna talk to Chris today. Chris, give us a background. Who are you?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Indianapolis. Good old white middle class home, We gotta love that.
Right.
Everything's handed to you, basically. No, I grew up in a good household, good Christian household, and I had 3 older sisters. And I had, obviously had both parents there. My goal as the younger child was to entertain everybody. I always was putting on costumes. I don't think I ever cross-dressed, so that's good. But my job was like entertaining people. I was trying to have fun and entertain my family. And as I started getting older and growing up with sports was a huge thing. I wanted to be a sports writer and started diving into the world of sports writing. And was like, you know what? Writing sucks. I can do it, but I don't want to be on that deadline. I don't want to go into a dead-end career, so I go into a slightly less dead-end career called radio. Been doing it for 7 years, operations manager and morning show host now, basically running a radio station and being on the mornings, and had some struggles along the way, kind of got out of sports, but we can get to that later. But, that's kind of where I'm at now.
That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. So what made you try radio? Like, how'd you end up here?
When I got into sports writing, I knew I wanted to stay in sports, and I was lucky to be in Indianapolis where there's 3 sports stations. Most places can't say that they have 1 sports radio station, let alone 3.
Right.
And with some of the connections I had through journalism, I was able to get internships at a couple sports radio stations, and I just knew I wanted to be in radio when I was in those internships.
Yeah.
There's just something so fascinating to me about radio.
What's been the most fascinating thing? What's been the highlight so far?
The coolest thing by far is the fact that you can turn on a mic. You don't know if you're talking to one person or a million. You don't see your audience doesn't see you. And, I always had this mindset where it is really cool to think about the fact that at any day, if you have 2 listeners, one of them could be the most depressed person in the world. They've got a radio on their background, they've got cuts on their arms, they got a noose around their neck, and they're about to kick the chair out from under them. And at the same time, the happiest man in the world could have, just had a baby on his birthday, and he's about to go celebrate and smoke a cigar and all this. Right. And at the same time, I could be talking to that person, and I don't know if they're listening, but I can tell myself they are. And this thought process that I could possibly make the guy who's about to kill himself, make it just good enough where he won't kick it out from under him that day. Or the fact that I could make the one guy who's having the best day of his life just a tiny bit better. The opportunity of that has always just completely fascinated. And it's not about me going on the air and spreading a positive message necessarily. It's just me trying to entertain them, take their mind off of life.
Wow. I love that, dude. And honestly, I started thinking about, whenever you first said that, why am I even doing this? And now that you think about it, right, this could be so many different people that are listening to this, and I think that's awesome about being behind a mic and being able to just kind of do your thing, and whatever that anybody can take from it, somebody can take something from whatever we're talking about,
and it brings a lot of responsibility too. I think it's really easy for people to say, "Oh, I'm going to go on the air and just be fun and have fun," but they do it for themselves and they do it for the fame.
Wow, yeah,
and when you understand that your job is just to make the worst part of someone's day a little bit better, to make their morning commute stuck in traffic at 6:30 in the morning just a little bit better, there's something incredible about that. Because if not, they're going to change the station or they're going to turn the radio off.
Absolutely.
And it's your fault that you did not entertain them.
I love it.
I mean, my job, I get paid to keep people entertained.
To keep people entertained. And you know, it's funny that you said that, you know, when people do it, a lot of times they just do it for themselves. And I've been thinking about doing this podcast for a really long time, maybe 2 years. But every single time I thought about doing it, I was doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm finally here. I've got, you know, everything in play, and now I'm just making time to do it for other people. Right. And honestly, that's what made it fall into play is, you know, I'm not doing it for me, so I'm focusing on everybody else. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I get to do this for them, it's a blessing, right. Honestly.
And don't get me wrong, fame's a big part of it. I love the fact that I could have 20 million listeners one day and be making, you know, a couple $1 million a year. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But that's not the reason why you come to a small town, go on the radio.
Yep, you're right.
And you're never going to get to that peak if you don't start at the bottom. And I've realized starting at the bottom, nothing against the radio station I work for now, but starting at the bottom shows you how important this job is.
Absolutely. I think anybody can relate to that. You know, starting from the bottom and, you know, making your way up, you learn all the little things that it really takes to be a successful. And then you start looking at those guys that are making $20 million a year and you're like, yeah, he put in a lot of work to get to where he is. Right. He didn't just snap. And honestly, I think that's how everybody is, you know, like I think everybody starts to notice people when they actually have already put all the little work in, all those days when nobody was listening, all those, all the practice. So I think that's huge, man. You gotta know the little steps. That's great. That's great. So Chris, you know, a part of this podcast is we want to share some daily tasks or daily skills that help people get through. And like you said before, right? This doesn't have to pertain to anybody, but one person is going to listen to this and it's going to open their mind. So
that's big goals for you. You think they're going to have one person listening to you?
You know what? Could just be one, right? Could just be
just
one.
Me re-listening to
it's
myself.
Just me re-listening. So yeah, just you know, share. You know, I had you, you know, think about some things, but share with me. You know, what are we going to be talking about today? What are you going to share with us?
I think a lot of things because when you said this, it's easy for me to go. You know what? I'm just going to go in there, take over the interview, and try and be funny.
Yep.
But I understand that's not the goal of this podcast. And
I want you to be funny.
I understand how annoying it would be because I have local non-for-profits come in, and you know what? I want to be entertaining. They bore the hell out of me, and I'm trying to not throw you off the way they throw me off.
No, dude, that's awesome. I like it.
You know, it's a long journey being a radio host, and it's a lot. It's a very draining career. You know, you say, "Oh, you only talk on the radio for 3 hours." What's so draining about that? Well, there's a lot more to it than just talking for 3 hours.
Right.
Talking, you know, 2 minutes at a time for 3 hours. Because, I mean, the stress of trying to be entertaining, building new content every day, and realizing at the end of the day, you're an on-air personality. People are listening for you, not to hear, you know, who won the Grammys last night. They want to hear your opinion. They want to know what you ate for breakfast, and you have to try and put a spin on it and just giving your life and pouring your soul out in front of a mic. It is so mentally draining.
Wow. So when did you know, like, wow, this is so much more than what I thought? What did you take on where you were like, holy cow?
I remember I started to look into radios because when I first started, I wanted to do sports. And there's nothing really personal about that. You know, yeah, there's people with opinions, but in all honesty, you go on news shows, you go on sports shows, there are literally meetings where they say, okay, you know, Skip, you're going to take side A, Shannon, you're going to take side B. I don't care what you actually think on the topic, side A, side B. Because if you get two people who agree on everything, it's boring.
It is boring.
So it's not, you know, those sides, you're not really being that personal. And like I said, I got into sports. It was very mentally draining. It took the fun out of sports for me.
Yeah.
When I had to do it as a job and I had to like be unbiased and I couldn't really be myself, and destroyed sports for me. I did not watch sports for years.
Wow.
I went from watching sports every day to not watching it for a couple of years.
Holy crap.
I mean, I had my family had season tickets to Colts games, and I would sit there with my chin on my fist and just bored out of my mind. I would dread going to a professional football game.
I don't even know if that would be like possible for my life.
Yeah, no. And now I look back and I think I was like, how was I ever at that place? And it's just it's awful. But there was this stretch where I was basically having an existential crisis. I was going to therapy once a week, saying like, what's wrong? Why isn't this career working for me? I know this is what I want to do, but why don't I want to do it this morning? Why don't I want to do it the next morning? And, it was so important to me, the pressure of doing it, the opportunity of doing it, and I just love entertaining people.
Yeah.
And I have to have a narcissism about me and think that I'm the most entertaining person on earth. I'm God's gift to earth, if you ask me.
Right.
And, if you ask any Christian, if you have God's gift, you have to share it with the world.
Right.
So I'm just doing my good Christian duty. I'm God's gift to earth. I have to share. But it was so many radio hosts did so much for me. Being in rooms with people who would have those very candid conversations, listening to entertainers on the air, and then, hearing their stories off the air and what it did to their life. And yeah, it was draining, but it's like they kept me going through a very tough stretch. They kept the spark of radio for me going, and they gave their personal life, they gave their mental health, so that way I could have that entertainment. And I felt like I owed it to people. And not just that, but I wanted to do it. And I wanted to entertain people.
Yeah, give back.
Right. And I wanted to be, known as the guy one day who some depressed 22-year-old goes, you know what? I listened to Chris Shoulders when I was, 22 years old and not sure what I wanted to do. And that made me want to be an entertainer.
Man, that is, that's so eye-opening whenever you think about that, right? Like, it's not every day that people are in that position at our age, right? And are thinking, I just want to serve others and I want to be great at it.
Right.
So you talked about therapy a little bit. Kind of walk me down and, share whatever you want to share, but walk me down the path of, what was you thinking and how did you get to the point where you started to seek out for help just to make yourself better?
A lot of it was I was just really depressed. Going from gung-ho about sports broadcasting to, I hate sports. And am I wasting my time now 2 years into college? And why don't I enjoy anything? I had also, a big thing for me was I lost a lot of weight. I lost 100 pounds when I graduated high school.
Wow.
And I did it for a girl, and she didn't like me back. So it was a lot of lashing out, like, why didn't this girl like me even though I lost weight for her? And I was working out all the time and basically seeking validation from girls, and I was going on the air, but I was doing it because I wanted to be loved, and it was just I was depressed at the same time and didn't feel any fulfillment. And it was just a lot of lashing out sexually and professionally, and I wanted to figure that out because I knew I wasn't going down a good path. And I remember I sought it out, and I talked with my therapist about, how do I get this spark back? How do I do this? Why am I lashing out? And getting that self-awareness of understanding that, okay, broadcasting is my career. I have to consider myself an enigma, and, I have to broadcast that.
Yeah.
And understanding that, okay, this whole lashing out sexually thing, it doesn't, you may not think it ties in, but it's, okay, I spent all this time wanting every girl to, do all these dirty things to me. I'd never do it because I didn't actually want to have sex. I just wanted the validation from it.
Wow.
And that was depressing to me. So it was once I realized that I wasn't doing it for, the validation of girls, and that was awful to me. Or I wasn't going on the air because I wanted to be famous anymore. It was, I want to find the right girl, or I want to, and be able to please her every day. And, or I want to go on the radio and be able to entertain the masses. When I figured out that that's the switch I needed to make, that changed everything for me.
And it brought you, I feel like, as you were talking about that, it kind of just brought you right back to where you originally started, right? Like right where sports put you, where you felt like you were about to do it for everybody else.
Right.
That's awesome, man. I love that you're talking about therapy because, depression is huge. And as the years go on, 2015, when Facebook started coming out and everybody was on it, that's when everybody, that's when a lot of stuff started hitting the ceiling. And so a lot of people have been talking about, depression awareness, anxiety awareness, and that it's okay to seek out for therapy. This was a couple years ago. Am I right that you had seeked out for therapy?
Right. This was sophomore year of college.
Sophomore year of college. So, man, being a sophomore in college, 19, 20 years old.
Anorexic.
Dude, that is so hard to be like, I'm going to come out of my comfort zone and actually reach out for help.
Right.
How did you build up that strength?
I don't think it's that I built up the strength. It's that I didn't have any strength left, and I was either going to kill myself or I was going to get help. And I'm way too much of a wimp to ever kill myself. So I went ahead, and also you can't kill God's gift to the earth. So, yeah, I was,
You're right.
I was too much of a wuss to kill myself. So I sought out help because that was the only other thing.
That was it.
And it was incredible to go through. And I ended up going to therapy a second time, but the first time was the one that saved me from my depression. And I wouldn't say I would have ever killed myself, but I don't think I would have ever gotten better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, for anybody that's listening, I've never been the type that I've ever had any, depression issues. I felt like I had a little bit of anxiety issues when I was living by myself just because I didn't know what it was like to just be on my own. So that was, that was weird for a little bit, but I've never been the type to have depression. So I definitely don't judge it ever because I just don't know. But the more that I hear about it, the more that I'm just thinking like, holy cow, this is such a serious issue and people need to know how okay it is to seek out for help. That's giant. That's giant. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah, course.
So
my job.
Now that now that you've been through therapy, what's one thing from therapy that you apply every single day to just help you stay on track, even on the worst days?
I don't know if it's necessarily applying things that I've learned from therapy.
Okay.
The second time I went to therapy, I know we didn't really get into that. Second time, I just walked into my therapist's office and said, "Hey, I'm a narcissist, and I would consider myself, a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I a piece of crap?" And I remember I said to my therapist when I went in, because now I had built that confidence that I didn't have the first time.
Right.
And now it was like, I am a narcissist. Like, forget me wanting women to validate me. Women need to validate me because I am God's gift to the earth again.
Right.
and I remember I looked at my therapist in the eye. I said, "I don't want you to fix me. I want to know why I'm a narcissist. I want to know why I'm this way. Don't fix me, though. Just tell me why." And getting that self-awareness, understanding that, I'm a narcissist because of the fact that I'm just in love with myself. And I feel like, it was kind of a weird thing, but my mom, devout Christian woman, loves God. And I adore my mom. I consider myself my mom's protector. She's married. She was divorced before I was born. I never knew the guy. The guy was the worst human I think I've ever known. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm just know him from stories that I was told.
Right.
And I always consider myself my mom's protector.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always weird to me because my mom would always seek out help from God. Would always go to scripture, would always go to church, would always go when she needed help. And you know what? She got through it. Everything with a level head, the most perfect Christian woman you could ever see. And here I am, a narcissist, feeling like I have the answer to everything. I'm the most entertaining person. I've helped people with depression. I've helped people with other things. And my mom isn't listening to me. She'd rather listen to God than to God's gift from the earth. She'd rather listen to God than me. And that drove me crazy. And that made me build up my narcissism more and more and more. So that way I could almost try and convince her that I am the best human on earth and she needs to listen to me.
Wow.
And I needed my mom, and my mom loved me. Let's also not say that my mom didn't love me. She was the nicest person to me. She was the best mom I could have ever asked for. Mm-hmm. But it drove me crazy that she loved God and listened to his advice more than me. And how much of an asshole am I for thinking that?
No, I don't know.
Mom, listen to me, not God.
Not God.
And again, not that I'm not a Christian, right. But I just feel I should be the one listened to. And it's the narcissism is still there, mm-hmm. but being aware of it, understanding how to control it, and understanding the importance of it, because I think it is important, especially when you're in this career, to be a narcissist. Mm-hmm. You just have to know when you are in it, because the worst type of narcissist is the narcissist that doesn't know it.
Then doesn't know it.
Right.
And that's why you originally seeked out help was, I don't know why I am a narcissist.
Right.
So the fact that you reached out and know and you know why you are, right? Now you can flip it on, flip it off. And honestly, self-confidence, don't get me wrong, Chris. I know you're talking about you, but dude, ask anybody that knew me growing up, this is their words. Isaiah's a great kid. Isaiah gets really good grades in school. He's just got a really bad temper and he's cocky, right? Yeah. He's arrogant, right? And that's the thing, dude. I was the exact same way. Give me the ball, right? Sports was my thing. Give me the ball. I want to be the star, to the point where, my senior year, I quit basketball halfway through. I quit basketball season because I wasn't playing. And now that I look back, right, just because I was such a narcissist, now I look back and we had a guy on our team. I hope he listens to this. His name is Jacob Myers. We called him Juice. He was number 32. We called him Juice. And Jacob Myers worked so hard in practice. He worked so hard, and he probably never seen the court. And he always was positive. So every time I look back and I quit that senior year, the only thing I've ever quit was basketball. I quit that year, and now I look back and I think, man, I could have been just like Jacob Myers, sitting on the bench and being a help to the team.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you're a narcissist, number one, and then knowing why you're a narcissist, it's huge. Why am I this way? So that I can actually understand it and apply it where it's necessary.
Right. And understanding that my girlfriend doesn't have to love me as much as I love myself.
Right.
Makes relationships a lot easier, because I'll tell you what, relationships were horrible. My longest relationship was a month before the relationship that I'm in now.
Right.
And the girl that I'm dating now, I've been dating for 8 months, and I know she's the woman I'm going to marry.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, if I hadn't gone to therapy that second time, she would have dumped me within a week. And you know what? I would have been happy that she dumped me in a week, because I would have deserved it.
Wow. Man, Chris, I think you're one of the most honest people I've ever met.
You got to be honest.
And honestly, dude, I love it because it's the real you. And I want people to hear on Young and Growing, right? There's real people that have real stories that are going through this that have made it through. And I think your big story, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I didn't know who I was or why I was this way, but figuring it out has led to me being and on the right path of being great at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being confident on the radio, right? Like, if I don't bring the confidence, who's going to?
Right.
The people that are sitting in traffic at 6 a.m., right? Are they going to be happy? Are they going to be confident, right? Are they doing this?
And that means even if you're depressed, you got to be confident in your depression.
Wow. How are you confident in depression,
it's
man?
Sick, but you have to be confident in your depression.
Yeah.
And it's a sick, twisted career to be able to just throw yourself out there. But, someone's got to do it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I think, I think people appreciate it, but, I'd really like to share this because this is what people need to hear. I want to create that platform where people know Chris, right? They listen to the radio, but they had no idea why Chris is the way he is. Now they listen to this and they're like, not only do I want to listen to Chris more, but now I know why he is what he is, and he has no reason to lie to us, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's told us the story, and that, I think when people are honest and they have nothing to hide, that makes me want to listen more. That makes me want to be more engaged. Dude, this guy's a real dude, right? Like, he's gonna really teach us.
Don't get me wrong, I go on the air and I feel like, I know it sounds dumb, but I feel like whenever anyone talks about depression, it's boohoo, sad story, and you know what? It should be, because the depression stats are horrible.
Yeah, they are.
But I go on the air and I remember I came out of therapy. I had a mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. I got suspended for 2 weeks from the air because my boss said, "You're going to kill yourself if you keep working," because I drove myself in a career. The week I came back on the air, I had a song written I played called "Dead Inside," where I literally made a joke about wanting to kill myself. And I realized that my way to be open and honest about depression is not to go boohoo. It's to go, I'm going to make a joke out of it. I'm going to be real and serious about it, but I'm going to make a joke out of it because, some depressed people don't need to call a suicide hotline to get out of that depression.
Wow.
I'm not saying that, look, the depression hotlines are huge and helpful, and I'm saying, most people do, but for someone to be depressed and go to therapy and be okay making a song called "Dead Inside," where I literally am just goofing on myself in therapy and wanting to kill myself and not being good. Some people need that. And I'm not saying I'm for everybody. I would never say I'm for everybody, because I think that I can give the wrong message to the wrong person. Mm-hmm. But I think I can also give the right message to the right person.
I like that.
And I'm here if people want me to make fun of my depression and suicide.
Uh-huh.
And I'm here to support people off the air if they need help with suicide and depression. But you know what? I'm not good at serious, deep, emotional conversations. Mm-hmm. And that's not what I want to do.
I love it, dude. I love it. So let's go and end this thing with one message that you would tell whoever that one listener is that needs it, right? Like, what is one thing that you would tell them to just make sure to do? Or what's the one key to success in your life that might help that one person?
God, there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing for me was finding self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
And self-awareness can be a dangerous thing because you'll realize dark things about yourself that you don't like, but you'll also find out those dark things that are causing your depression, and you'll be able to attack them. And if you don't know what to attack, nothing's ever going to get attacked.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Shimmy Shoulders, the producer, the one and only. Dude, he's awesome. He's awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for doing this, for sharing your story. It's never easy, especially talking about that, right? And you made it so comfortable. And I know you you made jokes about it, but in all reality, you let people know, like, I know that this is serious, but this is how I'm going to cope with it, and this is how, self-awareness with depression is huge. So, Chris, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Reach out to me if you need anything, okay? We really want to help people. Share this for anybody who wants to listen. Young and Growing, thank you so much, Chris. We out.